What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, for the first time since 2020, the Indianapolis Colts have beaten the Tennessee Titans. And for the first time since 2018, that the Indianapolis Colts have beaten the Titans at home. It's a great day, guys. Indianapolis wins the game. They are now 3-2, still sitting atop first place in the division after this win. Cody, we've been going back and forth on this topic. It feels amazing that the Indianapolis Colts won this game, but at the same time, we're talking about it. Seems a little bittersweet given what has happened to your franchise quarterback. Again, him missing a game for the third time in 5 games.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, before we get to Richardson, because I know we'll have a topic on that, we'll talk about that. It definitely feels good for Indianapolis, I'm sure, to win this game. For players especially that have been here, Kenny Moore, DeForest Buckner, some of those guys who all played, even the guys like Julian Blackmon who had the game-sealing interception. Like all these guys who have seen Tennessee, come into your building and really bully you. A lot. And it really has been the last 5 matchups. It's been a one-sided affair. Tennessee's been the bully. Indianapolis has really not, done a whole lot. And so it definitely feels good that Indianapolis, you feel like in this game, you look at it and Indianapolis in a lot of ways really dominated this game, Derek. They were able to, run the football effectively. They were able to pass the ball effectively. They were able, to get after Ryan Tannehill a whole lot and really shut down the running game of Tennessee. And that was kind of the big thing. Tennessee so much, Derek, in this rivalry recently dominated the line of scrimmage, and it was definitely good to see that the Indianapolis Colts were starting to do that. They really did that in this game. And so definitely a great feeling. Like you said, 5-game losing streak the Indianapolis Colts had. They haven't beat Tennessee at home since 2018 when Andrew Luck was still here. And also, by the way, I'll throw this one out here, Derek. That snaps a 7-game losing streak at home for the Indianapolis Colts. So all these streaks snap now. Definitely feels really good. And Derek, we know this very well. This next week, you're going down to Jacksonville, where that's another streak you're looking to snap. And so, definitely very good for this young team's confidence to really feel like they went out there and it was really a total team effort. And that's exactly what you needed in this game to beat Tennessee. That is, was still very pesky in this game and really hung around until the end. So definitely great to see Indianapolis go out there. And I'm sure for Steichen and just for this locker room, it's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you had every single thing go against you when it came to you were losing the penalty department by a long shot. Your quarterback goes down again. And, everything could have been a situation where you're like, man, why is it always got to happen to us? Why? And it could have been an easy way of breaking down and not being able to pull through. But again, you had the situation where Shane Steichen has this team locked in, ready to go. This is a game that, once again, we probably would have lost had there been under the previous coaching administration. So it's great to finally see this team persevere and go through it. Now let's talk about the quarterbacks here. Before Anthony Richardson went down, 9 of 12 so far for 98 yards. Was sacked once for 17-yard loss where he threw that ball backwards that cost them a lot of yardage. And then, of course, Gardner Minshew coming in, picking up right where he left off, 11 of 14, 155 yards, stone cold, had it under control the whole time. I mean, Cody, give your thoughts on Anthony Richardson's performance and then Gardner Minshew having to take over the rest of the way.
Yeah, you mentioned with Richardson, I thought that was one of his best games he's played in a while. He was really feeling himself. I remember specifically, a couple plays where Richardson, just his ability to throw the ball down the field, his ability to make plays on the fly, it gets him into trouble sometimes, like with the sack. But also, I remember specifically a play where it was like 3rd and 16, and Richardson just sets up and launches it and finds Josh Downs wide open for a huge gain. And he just shows again Like when you give him time back there, I mean, he's got a cannon, man. So I thought Anthony Richardson looked good before the injury. Definitely sucks that it's another one for him. It's crazy because it's all different injuries. It's not like the same injury that's flaring up. It's been different things. And it was a knee, it was the concussion. Now it's the arm or the shoulder, the throwing shoulder. So, yeah, it's just unfortunate that happened. And it's unfortunate that he keeps getting injured because now you start asking the question, and I know we'll get a lot of these questions. Is this Anthony Richardson? Is he going to be a player that's going to be injury prone? It's going to be on the field less than he's off the field. And it's going to be a continual issue because, this has been, so many games. He played in 5 games. He's had 3 different injuries. So it is a little bit concerning, Derek, that Anthony Richardson continues to get hurt and continues to get injured. And, you just think at some point the coaching staff needs to be better about limiting the chances that he's going to get hit. And also Anthony Richardson, we talked about it. I think he's been better about sliding, but there's just different ways that you're like, is there ways that he can protect himself better as well? Like doing things like running out of bounds, not lowering his shoulder and trying to take out guys, things like that are going to, Derek, they're going to limit his career. They're going to shorten his career if he doesn't get these things under control because, we're 5 games in and Anthony Richardson's already dealt with 3 separate injuries.
Yeah.
That's extremely concerning, Derek. That is extremely concerning. And I guess the good news in all this is Anthony Richardson's 21 years old. He's a young quarterback. And just unfortunately, Derek, in this instance with Richardson with these injuries, he's learning, but he's learning the really hard way. So this actually could be a positive thing. I know, everybody tries to point to gloom and doom, and I see why in certain ways you could go to that train of thought. But I kind of look at it as could it be a good thing here, Derek? Because Richardson's learning these things as a 21-year-old. You'd rather him learn these things now and go through some of these injuries so that in 2 to 3 years or whenever he comes back from this injury, he's just a smarter player for it. You just hope that that's kind of the case there when it comes to him and dealing with these injuries. I mean, he definitely showed him, improvement in terms of protecting himself from where he was earlier on in the season. So, you just kind of wonder, are these things just, things that you have to kind of go through a little bit with a running quarterback? You'd rather him get injured now. You never want him to get injured, obviously. But would you rather him learn these things as a rookie 21-year-old than when you're trying to contend for a Super Bowl and you're in the playoffs, So that's kind of where I stand when it comes to Anthony Richardson and this whole thing right now. It sucks for him. Just because he wants to be out there with his guys and just the dynamic ability he has, there's no question. And he was showing it again. I mean, Derek, the ability that you had when you had Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor, all those guys in there, I mean, it's unstoppable when they're all in there. So it's really exciting. But yeah, Gardner Minshew came in. He played well, did exactly what he needed to do. Exactly a Gardner Minshew type of game, was very efficient, and ultimately was able to help you hold on and defeat Tennessee, just kind of like he did in the Baltimore game, Derek, as well. And I know he was probably a little bit better in this game than the Baltimore game, but you know what I mean? Just coming into the game, more like the Houston game probably.
He was much better in this game.
Probably more the Houston game where he played better and he actually helped you win this game. And so I guess that's the good thing is you have probably the best backup quarterback in the NFL right now, and he can help you out in these instances when this does happen. And so, but yeah, definitely Anthony Richardson's got to take better care of himself. And the Colts and Shane Steichen, they got to be smarter about the designed runs they have with him. And I don't think it's something, Derek, where you completely take it out, because that's an element of his game that's very effective. I just think you have to limit sometimes, and sometimes things happen, as well that you can't really predict. But as much as you can limit the amount of hits your young quarterback's taking, I think you have to do it at this point because it's become more of a trend than just a freak thing at this point, Derek.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about, Richardson and, this offense going forward. We'll talk about that in a separate video to kind of bring it more to light. But I mean, outside of that injury thing, I mean, again, Richardson was dialed in at that moment and was playing really well, except for the one mistake where, he decided to do a spin in the air again. He's trying to relive his college days. And then I was like, dude, you can't make that play. Like that's something where you are not going to be able to do that in the NFL like you did in college. Like guys are
Sure.
not going to get fooled by that. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're smarter, they're faster, and it's just not going to happen that way. So like you can't throw, and especially because if he threw that ball backwards and that ball didn't go out of bounds like it did, I mean, a Tennessee Titans guy could have came by, picked that up. That's a touchdown. And then we may not be talking about this win like that. So, it's plays like that I know Richardson's going to get talked to with Steichen and be like, dude, just take the sack at that point. Just take it. Just don't make a bad situation worse. And that's, again, the youngness of Anthony Richardson not playing to that potential, just not making those mental mistakes. And that's the big thing. Outside of that, Richardson looked good today up before the injury. Again, people were talking about could Indy would have been losing this game or would have lost this game had Richardson been in the whole game, which is ironic enough because given the fact that the Colts were up before that injury happened and they were likely about to score another touchdown had Richardson been in to make that play in the first place. But nevertheless, outside of that, Gardner Minshew came in. Really only 2 plays that Gardner Minshew made that were not good for me. Obviously, he missed Kylan Granson on that 4th down when he first came in. If he would have made that, that would have been a much bigger lead, would have been a much bigger situation. But outside of that, Gardner Minshew just looked locked in. He knew where to go. He was stone cold, didn't have any issues. So, again, like you said, fantastic to have Gardner Minshew out there playing like he has. But, of course, we have to talk about the running back group because, we were all talking all week, Cody, about Jonathan Taylor. We're just talking Jonathan Taylor. And sure enough, Zach Moss uses it as a way to show you that he had more in him than we could have ever thought. And Zach Moss just casually having the best game of his entire career today when Jonathan Taylor makes his debut back from injury. Zach Moss with 23 carries for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. And on top of it, having 2 catches for 30 yards as well. So nearly 200 yards of offense today, Cody. They had 430 yards of offense from the Indianapolis Colts today, and Zach Moss accumulated almost half of it by himself. Zach Moss, shout out to freaking Zach Moss, man. That dude is a stud. I couldn't believe it. What I was watching was Zach Moss. He made it look like Derrick Henry out there. What Derrick Henry usually does to teams, Zach Moss did that to Tennessee today. Oh, by the way, had the number 1 rushing defense coming into this game. And Zach Moss just said, I'm about to show y'all what I got. And Zach Moss just had a hell of a game.
Absolutely, man. I'm telling you what, when Richardson gets back and Jonathan Taylor's at a full pit, he's full and ready to go, like this is going to be a fun group, man. It is going to be a fun group with Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor, all these different guys. And I think that's part of the reason, Derek, why you felt like you didn't have to have Jonathan Taylor get 15 to 20 carries because you had Zach Moss. Now, I didn't expect him to go out there and rush for nearly 170 yards on the ground, but I expected him to be effective. He's been effective all year long, but this was just another level where you're like, man, the Colts need to do all they can to keep Zach Moss around as well, because that 1-2 dynamic, Derek, I think we could say when Taylor gets back, when he's fully ready to go, I would argue this is the best 1-2 tandem in the NFL, and it's not close. I mean, these guys are killing it right now. Zach Moss come out of nowhere, man. I think, can we definitively say, Derek, that the Indianapolis Colts somehow, some way, they finessed the Buffalo Bills?
Oh, 100%.
In that trade. They won the Zach Moss. It's now the Zach Moss trade. It's not the Nyheim Hines trade anymore. And I love Nyheim Hines, don't get me wrong, and hopefully he gets fully recovered. But the Colts got what they needed from Zach Moss. He has given them a major help at that running back position and then some. So you feel really good about the future with this running back room. Both these young players, 25 years old and younger with Taylor and Moss. And you just feel like, man, the ways that the Colts are going to be able to run the football against teams, it's going to be borderline unfair, Derek, because Zach Moss is just killing it. And also, man, shout out to the offensive line. I mean, they did a great job. For a team that really struggled a week ago against the Rams to run the ball, especially in that first half, I tell you what, the Ryan Kelly effect is real, man. When he's back in there, this offensive line, they are moving people, man, and they are pushing.
That is one unit. That's the one unit today, Cody, that no one's going to give credit to, but we're going to give credit to it right now. We'll go back to the running backs here in a second, but again, the number one rush defense, and the Colts ran it down their throats in this game. And again, 1 sack allowed all game, Cody. And it was simply because Anthony Richardson did it to himself. Again, the defensive line got no pressure on Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew for the majority of this game. You ran the ball for 200 yards on this team. I mean, that offensive line the offensive line for the Indianapolis Colts is back. I mean, it simply is. They are back. And they were missing Bernard Ryman in this game too.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to Blake Freeland, man. We kind of piled on him a week ago. Kind of thrown into a bad situation going against Aaron Donald last week. But I think he held his own pretty well, Derek, all things considered. And so if he can continue to gain that confidence, now you're like, okay, we feel better about the depth that we have at tackle now with Blake Freeland if he needs to pop over left tackle, right tackle, wherever you need, because it was very scary a week ago and felt like he had a nice bounce back game in his second career start. So definitely want to give him a shout out. The entire offensive line did a great job all day long. I mean, gosh, Derek, Zach Moss was averaging 7 yards a carry in this game. That's insane. And he had, you talk about Jonathan Taylor hitting that next level all the time. Today, Zach Moss hit that next level, man. He had that 56-yard run where he looked like the guy that just got paid $14 million a year. Yeah. So Zach Moss did a great job today. Jonathan Taylor, we knew he was going to take him some time. So I'm not mad about that at all. Him getting six touches in this game, 18 yards on the ground. So
just did have one catch for 16 yards that helped move the chains where we got that second touchdown. So again, no huge plays that happened, but Jonathan Taylor did help the Colts offense by gaining 3-4 yards every carry and was able to get that one screen from Minshew late in that fourth quarter that helped us move the ball down the field. I mean, we knew he was going to be on a snap count. We didn't know how many. Jonathan Taylor, I think, was only really out there for 10 plays. So it wasn't like it was much, but he did make use of the plays that he had. He did help the offense move, and that's all you can ask for JT to come back.
Yep, exactly. So, definitely a great day for the running game for Indianapolis. And you think if this is going to be the trend, there's even going to be better days ahead if Taylor gets back to where he was. I mean, which we all expect him to, now that he's 100% healthy. So, but Derek, let's also give a shout out to the receiving corps as well. They did a great job today. Both Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. Downs, 6 catches, his best day, 6 catches, 97 yards. Averaging 16.2 yards per catch. And then Michael Pittman, just a consistent day from him, 5 catches, 52 yards. Nothing spectacular, but it felt like these receivers and these tight ends and all these different players, they did exactly what they needed to do. They were getting open and they were making plays for this offense. And you do think those numbers, could those numbers have potentially been up more if Richardson stays in the game there and doesn't get injured? But it is what it is. They did their job well enough, and Josh Downs, I have to shout out specifically, being the rookie, had a great game from the rookie. His best game, I think we could say, so far in his young career.
And I mean, honestly, I'm not even entirely angry, Cody, about a wide receiver not doing insanely amazing in this game, because you didn't have to throw the football a million times down the field, because with the way you were running the football with Zach Moss, you didn't have to pass the ball deep down the field a whole lot. So, but Yeah, Josh Downs, I mean, what a freaking spectacular game from Josh Downs. Multiple third down and long catches that were big and were able to move the chains, and the Colts were able to score because of Josh Downs. We talked about in the Baltimore game a few weeks ago, Cody, when Josh Downs was making those catches that were helping move the chains, but there really wasn't a whole lot else to really move it. But Josh Downs not only did that in this game, but had multiple catches where it put the Colts in position to score. And that is big for Josh Downs. And people were asking, how's Josh Downs going to do today? How's Josh Downs going to do today? Well, apparently he's doing really spectacular when the Titans decide to line a linebacker up on him in the middle of the field every time. And Josh Downs just was making plays, man. I love that. Josh Downs, again, we talked with him in the offseason. We were super excited to see what Josh Downs can do. And you see him coming into his own in this system as fantastic. And Michael Pittman, again, 5 catches for 52 yards. There wasn't a whole lot to really resort to when it came to Michael Pittman. I mean, it really wasn't much else to really talk about with that. Zach Moss had 2 catches for 30 yards. He had that 26-yarder, that one in the fourth quarter, Cody, when the game was on the line and the Colts had to get a first down to just make sure that Tennessee did not come back on the field so quickly. Zach Moss delivered, and Molly Cox had that one big catch. Think he's going to end up being in concussion protocol the same way that Anthony Richardson got hurt in week 2. It's the same way Molly Cox got hit with his. So that's rough.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, that one catch, that was nice. Drew Ogletree had a couple of ones early in the game. Kylan Granson had a couple. Again, Alec Pierce, who was practically a non-factor up until the last drive of the game for the Indianapolis Colts. Alec Pierce got held, and that resulted in a pass interference for the Tennessee Titans. And then obviously that third down when Tennessee brought everyone and Alec Pierce just so happened to be in the right place at the right time to make the catch that helped move the drive, which was fantastic. But I mean, again, it was an all-around decent performance by everyone. Still just in shock that, again, we're still not getting Alec Pierce involved much, except for the end of games. And, you hope at some point that's going to get it figured out. But like you said, wide receivers, man, they had themselves a good day.
Yep. Nothing spectacular, but just good enough. And like you said, you didn't need to throw it a ton. You really didn't need to with the way you were running the football in this game. I mean, Minshew had 14 attempts in this game. So you didn't throw it a whole lot. You ran it, considering it was actually a pretty balanced game, all things considered, but it was very balanced and you didn't need to throw it 30, 40, 50 times in this game. So you'll take it, man.
Yep, absolutely. And now we go ahead and hop into the defensive side of things. It was rough watching this, Cody, because this defense was so up and down for this game. It's so strange given the fact that they gave up 1 touchdown, Cody, but yet you would have yourself think that they were just the worst defense in the world when it came to stopping Ryan Tannehill. I knew it once again. Ryan Tannehill picking apart the Colts defense. And I mean, we got to start from the top down. Only 1 sack in this game. Samson Ebukam late in the game. And what felt like, Cody, the Colts could have had 3 more sacks on Ryan Tannehill, but just somehow, some way, Ryan Tannehill just slips through it. Somehow, some way, it just doesn't happen for him. But yet, at the same time, the defensive line did a fantastic job of stopping the run. I mean, Derrick Henry only had 43 yards in this game.
3.3 average in this game.
Yeah, they had 4 yards a carry on average in this game. They didn't really do much. Tyjae Spears had the biggest one, but he had 19 yards on 1 rush. So, I mean, again, if you take away that 1 rush in the first drive of that third quarter, Tyjae Spears has 6 carries for 15 yards. So, I mean, on the pass rush department, again, I'm not even going to really blame the defensive line a whole lot when it comes to that. I felt like, again, Gus Bradley just not wanting to send pressure irritates me more than anything in the world when it comes to our defense. But from a run stopping perspective, Cody, you had the one job. Don't let Derrick Henry beat you. And that's what they did today.
Yep, exactly. And to be fair to the pass rush, I felt like they were disrupting a decent amount in this game. The sacks maybe don't indicate it, but Buckner really had a great day today. Bukum, always active. He's just been such a great find. I mean, my goodness. Love that guy. I love what he's been able to bring to this pass rush. And he does a little bit of everything. I saw him blow up a couple run plays. Saw him obviously get to the quarterback and get a couple quarterback hits in. So Abukum's been really solid, and I felt like they just needed to finish a lot of times. They probably should have had 4 sacks in this game, to be honest with you. But that's just one thing where you got to finish it out, and you can't allow Tannehill or anybody to potentially have an opportunity to you go from 3rd and 8 to 1st and 10 again. You should have gotten off the field a couple times, but you just weren't able to finish, and Tannehill just had that much enough time to find his guy open. So, the defensive line, while I felt like they played well when it came to getting pressure on Tannehill, they just needed to finish in a lot of ways. So, that was one thing for sure that you definitely looked at. You talked about stopping the run. They did a great job with that. And really, that was the number one priority in this game, was stopping the run. So we all knew it. Everybody knows that the Tennessee offense runs through Derrick Henry. And if you can stop Derrick Henry, you're going to probably have a good day. So the Colts did that, and definitely need to give them credit there where it's due. And shout out to Julian Blackmon, like I mentioned earlier, game-sealing interception in this game. And, for the safeties that have had their issues this year, and we haven't really heard a lot from them, it's great to see, Julian Blackmon do something and actually make an interception like we're used to him doing. So, overall, wasn't a great day from the defense statistically, but Derek, where it mattered situationally, the Colts held. They were extremely good in the red zone, holding Tennessee to kicking field goals, and that ultimately, I think, was the difference in this game, was their ability to get off the field when it mattered.
Yeah, I mean, you remember this team from 2021 and 2022. I mean, they had difficulty stopping Derrick Henry, and especially in the red zone too. So, I mean, you did a fantastic job of, like you said, it was the bend but don't break defense today. And it's fantastic that this unit was able to, again, it had its really bad flaws, but I mean, they said like DeAndre Hopkins was the only one that really made any big difference in this game. And ultimately, even despite DeAndre Hopkins, the Tennessee offense just couldn't get it done. I mean, and outside that first drive, Cody, in the second quarter or the second half, that first drive where they scored on 4 plays just made it look super easy. Outside of that, Tennessee just couldn't quite ever complete a drive. And It was fantastic. And especially at the end, you saw that last stand where Derrick Henry and was trying to get that 4th down and 1, and DeForest Buckner and Zaire Franklin just said, no, thank you. We're going to stop this right here, right now. I mean, it was predicted that they were going to run the football on 4th down and 1 with Derrick Henry. I mean, say what you want about the defense. The defense definitely struggled in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, like you said, the defense had that bend but don't break mentality, and it was just enough to get us the win this time.
Absolutely. And then, Derek, I think really the last thing we got to talk about, Matt Gay, again, extremely good game from him, was 3 for 3 in this game from field goals. His long today was 43. He had 11 points in total. So, I mean, he continues to show up when you need him to, kind of made up for that missed field goal a week ago against the Rams. So, Matt Gay, again, continues to be really, really good, and continues to be one of the best kickers and most clutch kickers in football. So, you love to see that. And I think that really does it, Derek. But, I mean, gosh, you just can't talk about the confidence that this is going to give this squad moving forward. It's so, to say it's massive, I think is an understatement, just because of really where the culture has been, Derek, the last couple of years, where I honestly think the Colts ask themselves, can we beat Tennessee? Like, can we beat Tennessee? Because they almost look scared to play Tennessee at times. And, it was one of their biggest hurdles. And, now with Shane Steichen, like you mentioned, getting these guys ready to go. It's definitely encouraging to see them so far looking like a completely different team than we saw a year ago. And they're extremely competitive in every single game, whether they win or lose. They are very competitive and they are prepared and they are going to punch you in the mouth if you give them the opportunity. And they did it today.
Yeah. And of course, Steichen getting his first win inside the horseshoe too, Cody. Feels good to finally win at home too. How great that feels. You're about to potentially go on the road here shortly, but you won 2 games now. You won 2 games on the road. You didn't win at home yet. Those 2 games that you played in, it's where you're finally searching for one. And you have that situation where you're having this whole quarterback thing going around, but again, the Indianapolis Colts just are unwavered. It's just a unit that just believes in themselves for the first time in what feels like forever, Cody. And regardless of what hits them, they keep finding a way to come back. So through all the adversity, especially with the quarterback situation, guys, it's going to get figured out at one point or another. Obviously, it sucks that you have to continue to have that problem, but Shane Steichen has this team ready to go. I love what we're seeing. And like Cody said, that'll do it for this one, guys. Let us know your thoughts on this game. Again, Colts sitting up there with the Jags for number 1 in the division. Still anyone's ball game right now. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.